Tom, you just told me a story which really was mind-boggling for me, and I'd really like you to just share it again. And
Okay.
what has that got to do with the pattern language?
Okay. Well, I got this email about a book that hasn't come out yet, but it's due out soon, called The Uninhabitable Earth. Uh, and somebody sent me a quote from the book. It says, 5 years ago, hardly anyone outside the darkest corners of the internet had even heard of Bitcoin. Today, mining it consumes more electricity than is generated by all the world's solar power panels combined, which means that in just a few years, we've assembled a program to wipe out the gains of several long, hard generations of green energy innovation. It did not have to be that way, and a simple change to the algorithm could eliminate that Bitcoin footprint entirely. It also has a quote, it's estimated that 70% of the energy produced by the planet is lost as waste heat. If the world's richest 10% were limited to the average European footprint, global emissions would fall by a third. And these were both in the same email. And for me, the question is, what would we have to be like as a civilization in order to not do that kind of thing? You know, it's like how do you evaluate what is the most important thing to know, to understand, and then to act on that? How do you collectively do that? And we tend to, these decisions are being made by disorganized, manipulated consumers and citizens. It's being made by the governments and by businesses and all the rest, and it adds up to this incredibly collectively stupid folly. And so the pattern language is trying to say, how do we take into account what needs to be taken into account for long-term broad benefit? And that applies just to everyday life, and it applies to the greatest challenges we face as a civilization. And the pattern language has that intention, and it's saying, here are all those things we would need to attend to and do in order to have a civilization that wasn't destroying itself over and over again and harming the people and planet. So that's what we're trying to do. We had a version of this pattern language a couple of years ago, and it was really good. Lots of people were interested in it. And somebody gave us a gift to actually create a hard copy boxed set of cards people could work with in groups or individually to learn about this thing and to use it to work on whatever projects they were working on. And if lots and lots of people started doing this, it would add up to the kind of movement or community of practice that could have an impact that would shift those dynamics that are through which we're basically destroying ourselves. And that's the motivation behind it. And the patterns themselves are a bridge between the theory and vision on the one hand, which is very abstract, and the how to do it on the ground, all the methodologies and experiments that people are doing. The patterns link those very tightly and organize them. Pattern language is an organized body of those things. So in our new set, we have 96 of those patterns, and they're each on beautiful, beautiful cards with short introductions. And then the website will have tons of resources for any pattern that people want to actually work on. So there's lots of possibility in here, but people need to dive in and do it. And we're in the midst of finalizing it, and we discovered we got this grant to do this thing, but the grant didn't cover some things we thought we didn't realize we'd need to cover. And so we're asking with this little fundraiser for several $1,000s more to cover the things that we were missing. And once it's launched, we are hoping and expecting that it will self-support, support itself from the sale of the cards. But you are welcome to join us and help us actually get this launched in the world. So if you can, we'd love that. So please join us.